You know that feeling? You pick a shiny, new, super fast tool for a project, and everything feels great at first. But then, down the line, you find yourself just completely tangled up in complexity. Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. This is a real-world story of a developer who went through that exact journey and found a totally different kind of speed. So, the story kicks off with a choice that, honestly, makes a ton of sense. The developer was building a brand new product, and they went with SvelteKit. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's modern, it's getting all the buzz, and it promises this amazing, flexible way to build things. Seemed like the perfect start, right? And let's be super clear here. This wasn't some rookie mistake. On paper, based on pure performance, it was a great call. I mean, just look at this chart. Svelte's rendering speed is blazing fast, clocking in way ahead of competitors like Vue and React. So yeah, the thing is genuinely, seriously fast.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a turn. Despite those killer benchmarks, the day-to-day reality of actually building the app, it started to feel messy, unpredictable. All that raw speed from the framework just wasn't translating into speed for the developer. So what was going on? Why the huge disconnect?
Well, this brings us to something I like to call the prototype trap. You've probably felt this before. It's that classic moment where you're flying along, building something simple, and then bam! You hit the wall of real-world complexity, and everything just grinds to a halt. And as the app got bigger, the problems just started piling up. You know the stuff I'm talking about, those weird, unpredictable re-renders that create the most subtle, impossible-to-find bugs. Then there's the whole headache of hydration, that super tricky dance of making a server-rendered page come alive in the browser. You're constantly juggling what runs on the server versus what runs on the client. And for every single feature, you had to touch like 5 different layers: the API, the front-end state, the components, and then you'd spend hours debugging some weird reactivity bug. It was just endless glue code with bits of logic scattered all over the place. So here's the kicker. The very thing that made SvelteKit so awesome for getting started, all that flexibility, it ended up being the biggest source of friction as the project grew. The whole development process just got slower, and worse, totally unpredictable. So all that frustration, it sparked a whole new search. But this time, the developer wasn't looking for the fastest framework. Nope. They were looking for the most predictable one. The goal completely shifted from chasing benchmark numbers to finding a stable, sane way to build software. And this led to a whole new wish list for what a good stack should be. Number 1, state management had to be unified. No more hunting for state in a dozen different places. 2, real-time features should feel natural, not like something you have to bolt on with a bunch of extra libraries. Concurrency, simple deployments, those had to be baked in from the start. And maybe the biggest one of all, the UI logic had to live right next to the business logic. No more separation. The new philosophy was simple, and it was powerful. Predictability over hype. Period. A system you can actually understand and rely on is way, way better than a flashy one that's a nightmare to maintain. This whole quest eventually led to the Phoenix framework. And look, Phoenix isn't just another back-end framework you can swap in. It's a completely different way of thinking about how to build web applications. See, Phoenix is built on a language called Elixir, which runs on something called the Erlang/OTP platform. And that's a big deal, because this is the same tech that's been powering huge, mission-critical telephone systems for decades. We're talking systems that absolutely cannot go down. So right from its DNA, Phoenix is all about reliability and handling tons of things at once without breaking a sweat. And this right here, this is the absolute core difference. With a stack like SvelteKit, your logic is split. You've got some on the server, some in the browser, and this messy boundary in between that you always have to manage. Phoenix just gets rid of that. It consolidates everything. Your UI logic and your business logic, they live together happily on the server. And that simplifies, well, pretty much everything. So the magic that makes this all possible is a feature called Phoenix LiveView. And for this developer, this was the big aha moment. This was the thing that just completely solved all those headaches from the old front-end heavy way of doing things. So how does this black magic actually work? Well, it's surprisingly simple and clever. First, the server sends a normal, fully rendered HTML page. Super fast, great for SEO. Then, a tiny piece of JavaScript on the page opens up a constant connection, a WebSocket, back to the server. Now, when you click a button or do something, that little event gets zipped over to the server. The server figures out what changed and sends back just the tiniest little diff to update the page. That's it. No more giant JavaScript bundles, no more writing API endpoints just for the UI. Just think about what this completely gets rid of. All those complicated client-side state libraries, you don't need them anymore. All that tedious API glue code you have to write, gone. Those maddening race conditions where the front end and back end get out of sync, a thing of the past. And hydration problems, they literally don't exist in this world. It's a whole class of problems just wiped off the map. And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, look at this snippet of code. This one little function here, running on the server, is everything you need to handle a user event and update the UI in real time. That's the whole thing. What's missing? Oh, just an entire universe of JavaScript frameworks, state managers, and API fetching logic. But the story gets even better, because it's not just about LiveView. Remember how Phoenix is built on that Erlang/OTP foundation? Well, that means it inherits a set of incredible superpowers that you can't get in the JavaScript world. Okay, so what does that actually mean? It means every single user, every single task runs in its own tiny isolated process. So if one person's connection crashes, it doesn't affect anyone else. It can't bring down the server. And OTP has this amazing concept called supervisors that literally watch over your code, and if a piece of it fails, they just restart it automatically. Your app literally heals itself. This isn't just a cool feature, it's a foundation for building ridiculously reliable software. Let's put this in really practical terms. Building a real-time chat feature in SvelteKit? Okay, you're going to be setting up WebSockets by hand, figuring out how to manage all the connected clients, building your own protocols to keep everything in sync. Now, in Phoenix, things like PubSub, automatic reconnects when a connection drops, even tracking who's currently online, it's all just built right in. This isn't a small thing. We're talking about something that can save you days, if not weeks, of work on a single feature. So, after all that, what was the bottom line? What happened after making the switch? Well, to put it simply, it was a gigantic upgrade in productivity.
Seriously, look at this. Every single metric that you care about as a developer went in the right direction. Feature velocity shot up. The amount of code you had to write went way down. Architectural complexity massively reduced. And what's wild is that even performance went up while the number of bugs plummeted. It all comes back to the system just being simpler and way more resilient.
So the big takeaway here is that this was never just about changing tech stacks. It wasn't SvelteKit versus Phoenix. It was a fundamental upgrade to the entire process of building the product, a total productivity game changer.
Now, to be fair, this doesn't mean you should throw out SvelteKit. Not at all. It is an amazing tool for what it's good at, things like slick marketing sites, content-heavy websites, or quickly banging out a prototype. But when you're building a complex, interactive system with lots of state and real-time features, something you need to maintain for years, well, that's where Phoenix really shines as a simpler, more solid foundation.
And that really leaves us with one final question to ask ourselves about our own projects. We're always obsessed with asking, is my stack fast? But maybe, just maybe, the better question is my stack simple? Because if this developer's journey shows us anything, it's that simplicity, that's the real secret to predictable, sustainable speed in the long run.